I want to take a second and say that these videos were made for people that have no clue how to get started with their 3D printers. I have a lot of friends and know a lot of people that they have 3D printers and all they do is download stuff from the internet and print it out. That's really, that's okay, but that's really not what it's all about. It's about getting out there and creating things that are yours and then printing them out and holding something that you created. Now I know we're taking a game model that we didn't originally create, but by the end of this, we're going to make it our own and turn it into something that we can be happy with. And again, I'm not speeding anything up. I know sometimes it can get dry and slow, but I want people to see every step of the way that they can do this, that it's not rocket science or anything else. So hopefully one of the things that you might have noticed if you were watching was that I did not split down the center of these fingers. And I did that on purpose because I wanted people to question, well, why didn't he do this? Because that means you're learning something. So we definitely want to do those splits, so we're going to go ahead and do them now. But I skipped them on purpose because I wanted to give people a chance to say, well, he should have split this down the middle on the fingers. You have to progressively be learning things while you're doing this. Otherwise, it's pointless. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Some people may do it totally differently than I do, and that's fine. You really need to find out what works for you. Because at the end of the day, that's why you're here. You want to learn. I can show you how to create really cool things. A lot of people make digital art, and there's nothing wrong with digital art, but I'm one of the people that I like to bring it into the physical world. I like to hold things that I've made. To me, that experience is it's a lot more fulfilling than just downloading something off the internet and just going straight to your 3D printer. Okay, now this side is split already, so I'm not going to worry about that. I also wanted to point out another thing too. You have to be very careful when, the reason why I said keep things basic before is because in here you can start pulling a lot of these forms. And what will end up happening is because we don't have very much geometry, things will start to overlap. And you don't want that. That's why I was trying to tell you before, make sure that nothing overlaps. So when we switch back, you can see, like, even coming back here, I might have taken the knuckles a little bit too high because of how jagged all the geometry looks. That just means that we don't have enough geometry for those forms yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull these back down a little bit, keep them a little bit more reasonable. Until we have more geometry. And then once we have more geometry, then I'll come back and I'll flesh out a lot of those forms better. Just remember, try not to spend too much time making things look perfect because you're just trying to nail the forms. What we really want is we want a base mesh that we can sculpt on. That gives us a good starting point. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to convey the shape that we're after. That way we have less work to do later too. So all I'm really doing here is just kind of rounding out the forms a little bit so they're not flat. But remember what I said, space things out and then just try to keep things to where they have a nice volume to them. But don't go overboard. That looks pretty good there. So we'll turn our subdivision surface modifier back on. There's enough form there for right now, I think. because we will revisit this area later. But for right now, as I was telling you, we're just trying to get a lot of our basic forms in there and get things ready for sculpting. Anytime that you're creating base meshes to sculpt from, you're really just after a low poly mesh that captures the silhouette and a lot of the shapes. We're just looking for shapes. The detail and the definition will all come later. Yeah, see here we have another spot where it just got pulled out too much. I'm going to go ahead though and pull this out and round it out a little bit. But this is the kind of stuff that you're wanting to do. You just want to pull some of those forms out so they're not flat. You're definitely not looking to create different muscle definitions and stuff like that. Not at this point. Another thing that I haven't really talked about is anatomy. Anatomy is very important when you're modeling things. One of the reasons why I haven't touched much on anatomy at this point is just because it's too early in the game. You can spend years studying anatomy, and at some point you're going to want to do that. But for right now, just try to make things look decent. And as we go along, I'll pull up different things and I'll show you some things that you can look at and kind of study anatomy as you go. It just really depends on the look you're after, but you always want to use references and things to make sure that you're capturing the look that you're after. It takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience, but at the end, you'll be very happy with your results. I'll see you in the next video.